All right. Hi, guys. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton, Sehon. I'm with Swiftfire International. Super excited today. Have a marathon of interviews here going on today, but this is a new one for me. This is a brand new guy that I've had many people tell me about, and now it's just like finally we are connecting. Super excited to have Jason Shurka with us here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So, before we even jump in on consciousness and upgrades and 5D living, I would love to hear your backstory and kind of where you are now. Because I know I've heard bits and pieces from different people, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are just excited to kind of maybe dive in and learn more about you.
Sure, sure. So, oh, I hear myself a little bit. Okay,
Uh,
now I think it's working now. So, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. A little background. It's kind of wide because I have like a foundational background. So I come from a background of real estate. I come from a business background. That's kind of what I know best. It's a family business. So I come from a real estate family, if we can say that. And as I was kind of growing up, I was being groomed to do that and only that forever and always. You know what I mean? Just like, I mean, where I grew up was kind of the same way. It's a lot of people kind of either in like, I'm in New York, so it's either real estate, jewelry, or rugs. At least the neighborhood that I'm in. Those are like the three top things. So I fit into the real estate category. And yeah, that's kind of what I was groomed to do growing up. And I went to school for it. My major was real estate development at Baruch College with a minor in psychology. So it was as focused as can be on real estate in terms of my major. Psychology was more so because I just enjoyed it. And about 3 years ago, in June of 2018, there were things that took a completely different turn, which is probably what you heard bits and pieces of. So what I knew pretty much up until recently as in about a year ago, everything that I was going to do had to do with business and real estate. And certain things started coming into my life and changing and happening. And it happened slowly but fast at the same time.
mhm.
And kind of without me even realizing it. That's what I mean, slowly but fast. And about a few months ago, and I say a few months ago, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, I decided to make the overall change. So in September of 2020, I came out with a document that I was given by an incredible individual who I'm in contact with today pretty much every day. And that document is known as the Pyramid Code. And September 9th at 9 a.m., so 9/9 at 9 a.m. Eastern time of 2020, I was instructed to release that document. Again, all I knew, I was still in the whole real estate field full-time doing that with my whole business background. And I agreed to put this document out. I put it out, and that's it. And I thought that's where it started and that's where it ends. And obviously, that's not where it ended, because that kind of started this whole snowball effect that's still going on and will probably continue until the day I die, which I'm very grateful for because I love it. But ever since I put that document out, within 3 hours of its publication, it reached every continent on Earth with the exception of Antarctica. It got to so many people, millions at this point, so many people. And one thing led to the other, and producers at Gaia called me and they wanted to bring me on for certain shows. And, everything just came out of right field or left field, whatever the saying is. Because it's like, it was a new world for me, at least on the public realm. I was always interested in the spiritual aspect of life. I was always interested in ancient technology. Ancient Aliens was one of my favorite shows growing up that I was watching. It was awesome. But it was just like a hobby for me, something that I just kind of did on the side by myself without really telling my friends, because I didn't want people to think I was weird, especially because of where I come from. So this kind of created this whole turn of events in my life that allowed it to be something that I actually live instead of just do on the side. And that's kind of what's going on today. And it snowballed into so many different things. And like I said, I think that's just going to continue as we continue evolving through this journey.
Awesome. And so I got to know, since you brought it up, what is this document? What is the pyramid code? What is it?
So first of all, the document is available for free for everybody to read, for everybody to download, for everybody to share. It's on my website at jasonshurka.com. It's also on my other main website, which is academyofdk.com. And up until today, it's been translated into 9 different languages. So wow. Many different people volunteered to translate this thing around the world, and 2 audio versions as well. So the document itself was, well, I have to more so start from the beginning to give some context. I'm just trying to phrase it in a way that sounds normal without it being out there and crazy. No, because it's out there and crazy. You know, that's really what it is. That's the truth.
Well, we're all out there and crazy. So you have free, like,
absolutely, absolutely. I say that because, again, for anybody who doesn't know me, and probably anybody watching this doesn't know me, I come from a very normal background. Okay, so I come from a family that, when I put this thing out, they were considering putting me in a mental asylum. That's what I call normal, you know? So I'm just very reserved with how I put certain things out, because I still haven't let go of the 3D normality that I was brought up into. So it's like a process for me also.
Yes.
But in June of 2018, I was approached by a specific individual. That individual, until today, wants to remain anonymous. But when he approached me, he was a stranger to my knowledge. I just saw him as a stranger. That sparked up a conversation. We spoke. Everything was great. Very interesting man, older guy. We kept in touch, started having conversations. A stranger turned into a friend turned into this beautiful relationship. And over time, there was this process of disclosure that I was being put through without my knowingness of what was actually happening. Mm-hmm. So kind of like, we started having more and more conversations. And it's like, let's put it this way. If he told me what he told me 2.5 years in on day 1, I would have thought he was schizophrenic. I would have said, just, you know, you're on something and just get out of here. So he knew exactly who I was, and they knew.
Yeah.
And what I could take. And when I say they, I'm talking about the organization that he's affiliated with and where this all comes from. So over time, he revealed his affiliation with a specific organization known as TLS. TLS is known as the Light System. They're a massive is an understatement, but there's no other word that describes infinite. So what an incredible organization with incredible intentions. You can think about them like a spiritual version of the CIA, so-called, only instead of doing the things that organizations like the CIA does, they do things to take those organizations down. So they do the exact counter to stop organizations, to stop certain individuals from doing things.
Nice.
With the exception that it doesn't interfere with the natural conscious evolution of humanity. So there's a fine line. For example, nuclear war, nuclear bombs, they'll play a role in stopping, just like extraterrestrial life will play a role in stopping things having to do with nuclear weapons. Elections, they won't. Even if it's a fraud election, even if there's a problem, they won't interfere, because they're like, call it like universal laws. Mm-hmm. And when you're dealing with these laws, you don't go against taking away the freedom of choice, even if that choice is detrimental to a people. They have to go through that, just like on a much smaller scale. Let's say your son or your daughter was dating somebody that you knew was very, very bad for them.
Right.
They have to go through a certain experience in order to understand that. So think about that, but I mean, on a much, much larger scale, on a much bigger magnitude, on the level of humanity as a whole. So there are things that they interfere with, there are things that they don't. A lot of people ask, if there's such a divine, incredible organization with such incredible technology, then why do we still have evil in the world today? Mm-hmm. And it's a very simple answer, actually, because there's a principle that people are beginning to understand, but it still has to be ingrained in the collective consciousness as a whole. And that principle is the collective consciousness creates our collective experience. In other words, our collective experience is dictated by our collective consciousness, our choices, our actions, everything we say, everything we do, everything we believe, and everything we think. In other words, you take somebody like Hitler. Hitler was a creation of the collective consciousness at that time. He wasn't an isolated man that came out of nowhere. He came out of a collective allowing him to exist in the way that he existed. Therefore, he was a reflection of the collective consciousness. Now, today, we have many people that resemble Hitler with other names that I'm sure everybody knows, doing different things in more indirect ways of killing people, but they're hurting many, many people, yes. Millions and billions of people. The question is, or the reality is, if you were just to take down those individuals overnight, that wouldn't do much. Right. Because the root doesn't exist in those individuals. Those individuals are the effect of a cause. The cause is us, we the people, the masses. We allowed them to exist in the first place. So TLS, yeah, they do certain operations and undertake certain missions that stop those individuals from doing certain things. But their main focus is, and this is done through many different mediums, helping assist and guide the masses, or we the people, in other words, in reaching a higher level of awareness. Because if we have and possess a higher level of awareness collectively, then those evil individuals will not be able to exist in the first place. And if we don't change the collective level of awareness, then you could take down, assassinate, and kill whoever you want. They're just going to be replaced because the root of the problem didn't change. So that's the simplified answer of that question that many people ask. Because it's not as simple as let's just take those people down. Those people exist for a reason. We have to change that reason in order to change that reality. So back to the pyramid code.
Well, before you go to the pyramid code, wouldn't you say that the opposite is true also, as there have been people who have stood up and been great men and women that represent the collective consciousness and created those people to stand up and to give everybody else the liberation to remember their own sovereignty, their own authority, and take back their authority to, which I'm not going to name names, but there have been people who have done that even recently, and maybe there's been a shift back again, or maybe not, but we created that as well. And so
absolutely.
Well, I always say everything's an inside job. It's like when we work on us, it's not about pushing or making or forcing. When we operate in that, we're actually not doing anything different than the dark side. It's presenting, it's being, it's loving, it's giving truth, educating, informing. That word inform, to information, is to create, and imagine, to imagination, to imagination is what we're what you focus on, you make room for. So to change the cells brings a different projection, which changes the field, which on a collective shifts our world as we know it, and affects the galaxies, and we're all in this together. So I just want to kind of swing the pendulum
for sure. But that pendulum is being swung, by the way. We're seeing more and more people stand up.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, the fact of censorship is an indication.
I'll tell you what.
They wouldn't have to do that if more people weren't standing up. So they're not doing that because they want to. They're doing that because they don't have a choice. Because if they didn't censor, they'd go down a whole lot quicker. So they're fighting their fight, and the truth will prevail. It will come out whether they like it or not. The question is, how quick are we going to choose to stand up? There are still a lot of people who, no matter what proof you show them, don't want to see what's in front of their face. And that's part of the collective as well. So I will confidently say, because we see it, that minority of truth, which is everything, by the way, but the outspoken truth is growing and growing and growing, especially over the past 1.5 to 2 years. And it will continue growing. It's just a matter of time. So eventually that collective will take over, and the minority will become that majority.
I think too, they kind of overplayed their hand a bit, because it ended up being a catalyst. The polarity ended up being a catalyst for people to actually ignite into their truth and their remembering. So it's like maybe they didn't realize how the biggest, they'd be the big red pill of all the universe, for so many to come into their own and remember that authority, and people are, standing up. But I'm sorry, I go back to your pyramid. Yes, this is such brilliant, and now I know why so many people were like, "You got to talk to this guy. This is awesome." Go for it.
So, I was just giving a little backstory on TLS, on where this is coming from. So, this is the context of the pyramid code. So, on February 6th of 2020, I was invited to a meeting. You can call it like a TLS meeting, if you will. And in that meeting, a lot of incredible things happened. And one of the things that happened there was the man who approached me, who still wants to remain anonymous, but for practical purposes, we call him Ray. Ray is not his real name, but that's just what we call him. Ray was instructed to document what is known as the pyramid code document. Now, I've never heard about that. And nobody at the meeting has ever heard about that either, at least on one side of the table, if you will, because there was like people speaking to us and us sitting on the other side. There were 9 people overall, nine individuals. So he was instructed to document this document. I didn't know what it meant. I had no clue. That was in February. In June, comes back to me and gives me this completed document in Hebrew. It was 31 pages in Hebrew, 21,000 words. Hebrew, not because it has anything to do with, like, it's not religious at all. It's just he happens to be an Israeli Jewish person, and that's his language that he knows how to do things best in. So Hebrew was the original form of the document. He gives me this thing. I know Hebrew okay. I've been learning a lot ever since, but not to the level to read that in any way perfectly whatsoever. So he gave me this thing, and I'm sitting and reading very, very slow, trying to understand. There are a lot of like hard words in there, at least hard for me. It's like, in some cases, it's like the equivalent of like Shakespearean English, but in Hebrew. It's like, it's not so easy, in my opinion, at least. And gave me this document. I sat down. I had some help with translating it. I took some things. I put it in Google Translate. I had to figure out what am I being given, So I'm reading this thing, and it took a while of translation. I had some help with others from there as well. And we ended up translating it into a completely translated English document of 44 pages from that 31, because Hebrew is like a more condensed language. So turned into 44 pages. And I understood that this document didn't have to be kept confidential. Now, the document covers many different things, but the majority of the document covers certain things that happened with an in-depth memory of a reincarnation in ancient Egypt during the building of the pyramids. Who built them, how they built them, why they built them, the technology that was used, how that's reflected in our world today, the numerology behind the shape, the spiritual significance of the shape, of the actual pyramid shape itself, and certain codes embedded in the document as well, which is why it's called the pyramid code. And it also talks about TLS and many, many other things that are spoken about throughout the document, including the future of what we may be experiencing in the near future of humanity as a whole, and in the distant future, which is based on the document, a very good future, not something that's bad. The question is what's going to happen along the way. And that may not be the fun part, but that's up to our freedom of choice of what we want to choose to experience. So I was under the impression that there came a point where I understood that this document didn't have to be kept confidential anymore, which means that it could be published. But Ray, being a person who doesn't want to come out in the public eye, he's very successful at what he does in his day-to-day life. He's a businessman. They approached him in 2010. So up until then, he was just living his regular life, pretty well known in his world for what he does, very successful with what he does. And suddenly he was thrown into this world in his own incredible way as well, which is spoken about in some cases as well, and which I share some in other interviews. And to kind of condense the story, because it can go on for a very long time, I tried convincing him or persuading him to put this document out. And there came a point where we came down to a compromise. And he came and he said, listen, Jason, you want to put it out? No problem. You're going to take out the name meaning written by him. You're going to make it by anonymous. You're going to take out everybody else's name with the exception of mine because I appear in the document. Me and one other person. There's only 2 people, including myself, whose real names are in that document. Every other name is changed to preserve his anonymity so nobody can connect it back to him. He says you're going to change all the names, you're going to make it anonymous, and then you can publish it, but you're publishing it under you, meaning you're saying it's anonymous and you're going to do it. And I was given the choice at that point. And it was a very big decision to make because what he's really telling me is you're going to be the first one to speak about TLS publicly for the first time in their existence, which
it's on you, bro.
It was scary. You know, it was something that I was like, my first thing was done. I'm doing it. There was no hesitancy because this was what came through my mind. I was trying to convince him for a month to do something. Now he said, you know what, you do it. What am I going to say? No. So the first thing was, boom, I'm in, no problem. Now, I had that was in already July. I had about a month and a half to reconsider my decision. I said yes immediately, but I had a month and a half until my first interview that aired with George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM radio. Okay, so up every day leading up until that day, especially the day of, multiple times, he called me and reminded me, you don't have to do this, but if you do it, your life is going to change forever. You don't have to do this, but if you do this, just know what you're stepping into. And I'm sharing this to show that there was many times I could have stepped out. You know, there was many times I could have said I don't want to. And the choice to do it was completely on my own. I completely had that freedom of choice. It was all freedom of choice on my end of, do I want to do it or do I not? And in many cases, he told me all the reasons why I shouldn't, and I still chose to do it. Right? So he said, listen, like, you have everything going for you. You don't have to do this. Because again, he saw me coming from a pretty wealthy family. You know, I had everything going for me. I didn't have to put myself out in the limelight. And I just didn't want to live that way. You know, I don't want to live that way because I don't feel that no matter how much money you have, if you're just going to live to yourself and you know, what are you doing? I come from a place where I see a lot of people with a lot of money doing nothing for the world, absolutely nothing. You know, we're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars doing absolutely nothing. And it hurts me. You know, you see people that have all the resources in the world to stand up and make a change in this world, and they don't care. They don't care because they're comfortable. And by the way, that's the same consciousness that allowed the Holocaust to happen. I don't care. I'm comfortable. You know, I don't care. I have my money. I have my food. I'm healthy. And if I'm not, I could pay for it. So who cares? That's not how I live. No way in hell is that the way I'm ever going to live. And that's where that choice really came out of, where no matter how much money I'm ever going to have, no matter how much comfort I'm ever going to be in, I'm not comfortable living in a world where there are people starving. You know, I'm not comfortable living in a world where there are people living in, I can't. I can't. So that's where the choice came out of, where I saw this document had the power to make a change. I saw that no matter how big that change is, if it's one step in the right direction or 1,000 steps in the right direction, it has the power to make a positive change in the collective awareness of people. And if I have to sacrifice my name for it, so be it. You know, when I first started doing it, I remember certain people in our business, they came to me and they said, Jason, you're risking the reputation of your business. And I said, number one, I don't agree. Because what am I talking about? Love and unity? Somebody wants to think I'm crazy, they'll think I'm crazy, you know? And if something like that has to be risked and a reputation is hit, no problem. At least I know I'm doing something right. Exactly. Other than sitting down here and being a coward so I could sit here with my money and go to Hawaii. I don't believe in living a life like that. So that's where the decision came out of. That's where my ambition, my motivation came to sit down and really at this point work 24/7 from interview to interview to interview from so many different things. And, you know, we're dealing with really big forces here that are opposing us. Just today, my ad account, I had an ad promoting love and unity that I was paying for. The ad was taken down because I was promoting it, and they don't like what I stand for because I speak about certain things in the world. The ad was taken down, and they shut down my ad account. for going against their policy. I'll show you that it was unity, love, truth, a movement of global unity and a community of like-minded souls. And that's what people are taking down nowadays. You know, so in no way is this easy. In no way is this easy, in no way is it convenient, but it is necessary. So that's how the Pyramid Code kind of came to fruition. Gave me this document. I was instructed to put it out on 9/9 at 9 a.m., September 9th at 9 a.m. of 2020. I put it out, and the rest is history, you know, and it's just been a beautiful journey, not always so easy, sometimes very stressful and sad and scary and a roller coaster of emotions. You know, there came a point where I remember in the beginning, I was so stressed I couldn't walk because of my back pain. And I'm young, you know, there's no reason to have back pain, but I had back pain. So, you know, a lot of interesting things happening along the way, but nonetheless, I was warned, you know, I was given the preparation of this is what you're dealing with. And, you know, I'm sure you're dealing with it too. We all are. We're dealing with going against big forces who have a very big plan, who don't want certain things to come out. And they're being faced with an army of not thousands, of millions of us who say, no, you guys are going to be taken down, and you're going to be taken down through the truth prevailing. There's no war. There's no violence. There's no guns. People always ask me, why don't you have something to protect yourself? Because I don't care. Because I don't care if you got to kill me, kill me. You know, if you want to take me down, take me out. Enjoy. I'll live through the philosophy of I'm doing the right thing. I hope to be protected. And if things have to come to an end, they will, you know, but at least we can do the right thing to try and do our best to help people see the truth on the way.
Yeah, I've been, I got the same memo today about my ads being taken down. It was just about the science of miracles. So, I mean, I don't think that's very threatening for people to remember miracles and walk in miracles and love and truth on the regular, but you know, whatever, they have their own ideas. But I think it's very interesting. I love that you're bringing this up because, you know, we have our versions, others have their versions of that, just something inside of you that's like, I'm not okay being in the comfortable, you know, and I've been studying trout. I actually just watched this video a few weeks ago. Trout, the way their bodies are physically, mechanically made, they have this like simulated water tank that was had two dead trout in them, and salmon will do the same thing. And they were simulating water, you know, going this one direction, and the dead trout that they dropped in still went against the flow, like even being dead. Wow. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, the aerodynamics of how a trout is built to go against the stream without any will or consciousness of going up the will, because like they're dead. You know, it was just, if I'm watching this and it's like a nature show or whatever, but at the same time, I'm just getting this like huge, like activation going like, oh my God, we're the trout. Like we are the trout. And there's so many of us that are going upstream alive. And, you know, what do they do when they go upstream? They birth. And there's just this beautiful birthing time of, you know, activating others and giving birth to new ideas and new organizations and new books and new strategies, and just the collaboration of the birthing. And who are the dead? You know, you mentioned like, I don't care, you know, kill me or whatever, cancel clear. But also, you know, Tesla and some of these other people who, you know, have come out that have been offed, that their words still carry on, their efforts and their work still goes on upstream with all of us, you know, just kind of like being birthed from their death. You know, they're the catalyst to some of our awakenings, you know, and you know, so I just think it's fascinating how, you know, and you guys watching, you may have your own version, you know, whether it's, you know, to stand up working at a furniture store or in the post office, or, you know, being in the moms group, or, you know, you may not be called necessarily to some ginormous platform of, you know, go down to the capital of your state or your country and go wherever. But, you know, what I'm hearing from you, Jason, is is like, you probably wouldn't have been able to like sleep. You know, you just knew, this is what I'm born to do. There's a truth, you know, within you that, and an awareness of the action plan of what you were called to do, what you are called to do. And like nothing could stop that, because you would feel like lying with your life by not living the truth. And there's an authenticity to someone who's living in truth. And it actually brings an activation to the field of everyone you contact when you bring that truth to others. So no matter what form or fashion or what level that anyone's at. I mean, we're all one and working together. But I mean, I just love this story. I think it's amazing. And this has brought you to so many collaborations. I mean, you have now built this entire platform. Can you share a little bit about your platform and how this works?
Yeah. So we built, by the way, I use the word we a lot because I like the word we. I do in general, you know, like I work with people also, and we built a team and all that, but I think we is just a more powerful word because it represents that resonance of unity. So that's why I use it. But it's kind of like second nature to me at that point. I don't pay attention to it, but people bring it to my attention. They're like, "Who's we? You mean you?" I'm like, "No, I mean we." You know, but yeah,
Did it again. Yes.
We built a platform called the Academy of Divine Knowledge. The Academy of Divine Knowledge was pretty much, it was built on the basis of everything that's going on today in regards to, of course, the censorship and all that. We had to find a way to get around it. So, you know, I'm on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all these things, but you really do have to be careful with what you put up. And you would think that even if you have like your own website that you're hosting with, let's say, Wix.com, which I had one of those, and I still have one of those, that would be safer, and it isn't, you know, because they demonetize you as well. They make sure you can't sell anything. They will shut down your site. So over the past few months, I've done, I mean, many interviews with a lot of people that people know, like David Icke and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Judy Mikovits and Del Bigtree and Dr. Christiane Northrup, and many doctors, especially a lot of people in the medical field specifically. And I made a couple documentaries all about the whole C-19 situation that went really in depth into what's going on. And I saw that no matter where I put it, they take it down. And the risk was not just them taking it down, but them actually deleting accounts. Now, if we want to make a change in the world, you can't make a change if people don't hear you.
Yeah.
Now we have to be we have to have a strategy of how do we still use the mainstream platforms while still saying what we want to say, while still reaching as many people as possible. So that's where the Academy of Divine Knowledge came out of. And I realized that in order to make this change, you know, you want to make movies, you want to make films, you want to do all these projects and initiatives. It costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, I was just funding things out of my own pocket because I believed in it. And I still believe in it, but I can't keep funding everything out of my own pocket because those projects get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I said, okay, let's create something that's not a nonprofit, because I don't want donors, because donors will take up the collective energy by giving a lot of money from one person.
And then there's strings.
And then there's strings attached. Let's not create just a for-profit, because that's just the basic business that we have today, the basic business model. Let's create a mix, a profit for purpose. So what we built was pretty much out of the question of how do we raise enough capital in order to fulfill all of these projects without asking for donations.
Cool.
And we built a platform that's pretty much like a streaming platform. At this point, we have about one new release per day, all the way into 2022. That's already booked. And it's with some of the biggest teachers and the most incredible people all around the world that are just coming together to give teachings and lectures and interviews and Q&As. So anybody who signs up, and it's a monthly contribution, I call it a contribution because that's really what it is. It's not a donation, and it's less of a membership. It's more of a contribution. You're contributing to a movement here. Only instead of you just, again, donating, you're getting something in return right away while we work on these bigger projects. So we made it $33 a month. For that $33 a month, you pretty much get like almost 30 new releases every single month, which is crazy. You know, it keeps going over and over and over. On top of that, we have social media, an internal social media platform that we're now about to launch next week. That's an internal platform for all members to connect, befriend each other, live chat, create groups. There's a lot of things. There's many different things on the actual platform that I can't. We have a merchandise store that you can even choose. Like, you tell us what you want, we'll custom make it for you and add it to the store. It's like as community driven as can be. And of course, those contributions go towards, okay, now we're making a part 3 to the part 1 and part 2 of the Exposed series that we made all about the COVID situation. That's now being funded by the Academy. We're creating a new initiative called One Soul at a Time, where I'm going to go here in New York City and document the way that we can change a homeless individual's life by getting them a job, by helping them find an apartment, by bringing them back on their feet, and showing people how a soul that lost their way can actually find their way again with a helping hand. So, you know, all of these things, they take money, and thank God we now have it with all these contributions that we're getting through the Academy. So on one end, you sign up, you get all this information streamed to you with doctors and leaders and lawyers and all these people that are coming from all around the world on a daily basis with new releases of an hour, sometimes even 2 hours, you know, really incredible things. And on the flip side, the contributions that you're in one way paying for these releases are going towards a bigger purpose of, let's literally make this change. Let's make videos that reach millions of people. These videos are, of course, free. You know, these videos reach the world. So it's a movement that we created to give while we create at the same exact time. Instead of just saying, hey, we're asking for donations, what can you give? No, I don't like that model. I don't believe in that model. Again, it all goes back to the foundational principle of, if you want to make a change in the collective experience, you have to do it collectively. If we had 1 or 2 donors giving millions of dollars, that's great, but that's not going to change things energetically the way I want to change it. It will make a change, but I want to make a change collectively, and I want to do it fast. And to do it fast, we have to be in it collectively. So that's where the whole contribution model comes in. And of course, there are some people that can't afford $33 a month. So they email us and we onboard them regardless. We onboard them at a lower price. There are some people that can afford a lot more than $33 a month. So they email us and they sponsor 10 members. You know, they sponsor 50 members. They can do that. So it's like, that's where all of this comes from. And if anybody's listening right now and is either on the side that they can't afford and wants to join, by all means, email us. Go to academyofdk.com. It's the Academy of Divine Knowledge, academyofdk.com. Email us and we'll take care of you. And if you happen to be on the other side of the equation and you want to sponsor a bunch of individuals because you're fortunate enough and you're abundant enough financially to do that, by all means, that's how we onboard all these people that can't afford it. And if you're none of those extremes and you just want to join, then that's amazing also. You know, that's really what we built the platform for, to create a community, to create a new system, because I don't believe in fixing this corrupt one. Let's just build a new one and make the corrupt one obsolete and, you know, move forward. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome. I love it. And I know you have another interview. I'm going to leave just a couple things. Number one, what was your biggest takeaway from this document, this pyramid document, pyramid code? Like, if you could just say like the biggest aha and or life shifting thing for you, what was your big takeaway? Or did it come in stages, or what can you share for someone who's not read it that would help them understand what this is about exactly?
It came in stages. It still comes in stages, because as I learn more, I see it differently. I could say as you read it more than once, you're going to see things differently. Because if you want to talk about activation, that thing will activate you, and it will activate you every single time you read it. It's an incredible document. And again, I didn't write it. I was just given it to put it out. The only part that I wrote is the opening message that I signed myself, where I say, This is written by me to give you an intro into what you're about to read, and then go for it. That's the only part that I wrote, and I signed that part. The biggest takeaway, I would probably say the understanding that there's no such thing as not being alive. Because as you read certain and learn about certain functions of the pyramids, the one question is, how are rocks able to move? Do they have a consciousness? You know, and the answer is everything is connected to a unified field of consciousness, whether it's this stone, whether it's this cup, you know, everything is connected to this unified field. And the pharaohs and other races at the time understood that. They understood that, and that awareness, that understanding allowed them to connect to it. So it really, for me, it dissolved a lot of limiting beliefs and allowed me to understand that literally everything's possible. It's unbelievable, and it's not far-fetched. It's only far-fetched if you don't have the awareness to understand its simplicity, but it's very simple.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to put up all the links for you guys to find this document and all the information to continue this conversation with Jason and find out more about who he is, what he's doing, any upcoming interviews he has. He's on Facebook, and you know, you guys can just continue this because this is such a short time. We'll definitely have to have you back again.
I'm happy to do that.
Yes, but any final words and just plug anything you got upcoming or things going on that people can jump into instantly.
Let me think. I have a lot of interesting videos coming out on Instagram and YouTube over the next like 10 or 15 days. I tend to make those in spurts because it's just how my schedule is built. So I make them in spurts. I take some crazy headlines. I give another way of seeing them, connecting the dots, and I put them out that way. But of course, everything that's not censorship, that is censorship worthy, which is where the meat is all on the Academy. Now, by the way, the Academy, there's a big portion of that that's free. So even if you don't sign up, you can still go to academyofdk.com. There's a free library with interviews from David Icke, Judy Mikovits, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Michael Jaco, all of these awesome individuals. They're all in the free library. There's a lot of links and resources in the free library for real news, talking about real things. All the Pyramid Code documents are in the free library. So there's a bunch of things that are free there as well. And of course, if it is in resonance with you and you want to join and contribute to that movement, you can join us. But definitely that website as a whole is very powerful, even on its free side of what we offer. And Foster Gamble, I don't know if you know him, he did the movie Thrive. He was actually supposed to be the successor of the head of Procter & Gamble. He comes from that family. Wow. And he chose not to and take a different path in life. He's such a humble human being. I just interviewed him the other day, and that's going to be on the Academy as well. So he's coming up.
Very close to home for a lot of reasons with my family. So they're very interesting that you would bring that up, of course. Synchronicities are amazing. Love it. Well, I appreciate you so much and what you're doing for so many. And I'm so glad that we finally got to connect. And I know that people are going to enjoy following you and getting more information and how they can connect with not just you, but all these great people that you have on board, bringing forth all this amazing truth for us to make that connection and that activation. And for those of you watching, please do go to swiftfire.org, go to swiftfire.org and grab the newsletter so you can know what's upcoming with us. They took our channel down and we're kind of revamping everything, but I would love for you guys to at least get on the newsletter, then you know wherever we are and what we're doing, and check out some great resources and videos and the blogs and books and all the great things. So thank you again, Jason.
Thank you.
I will see you around. God bless everything you're doing. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll talk soon. All right. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.